the, I don't know, 0 people who are here? 1? I don't know. Sorry that took so long. I am working on reconfiguring some of my video settings. I'm using OBS Studio right now. There was a permission that I didn't check, so you're hearing my audio but not my video. Still a test. I'm here late night, unless you're on the other side of the world listening in, which would be cool. Welcome here, in that case. So again, my name is Steve Clausen. I'm the Paleontology Laboratory Manager at Dickinson Museum Center, a wing called Badlands Dinosaur Museum. Here a major federal repository for vertebrate fossils. And this is some work that's not really related to what I do there, but I say that to establish a little bit of credibility. I'm here to show good fossil preparation. There's a lot of misinformation, some miscommunication and things like that about how to prepare a specimen scientifically. We also hear this term museum quality fossil. Well, what is museum quality? Every time I'm online, especially the commercials, they write museum quality, museum quality. And honestly, a lot of this museum quality stuff is just the trash. It's amazing. Without a UV light, put it on some of these fossils, whether it's a dinosaur bone or a fossil fish or a bird, whatever. They'll light up like a Christmas tree with all the restoration, Bondo, paint, this and that. I don't do any painting, I don't do any Bondo, I don't do any restoration. I think somebody on the other video mentioned, they said, well yeah, this is definitely not commercially viable. And I agree, if you want to make a profit selling a whole ton of fossils, what I do on this channel is not what you're going to be doing, unfortunately. I'm not a commercial paleontologist. I'm in my own lab. This is not sponsored or associated with the museum whose repository I manage. I get to experiment here and take a few more risks than I would take otherwise on federal fossils. But everything that comes out of here is of higher quality than anything you're going to see on eBay. There is no excuse for fossils to be prepared in any other way if they are in a public museum or an accredited repository. If it's a fossil bird or a fossil mammal, whether you are a commercial paleontologist or a collector, something like that, you have to insist that this is how you work on them. You have to insist. Because even though I'm going to be working on this Myoplosis labracoides, a fossil fish from the Green River Formation, which is a low end of the spectrum, a common fish there. There are probably tens of thousands of them all over the world, if not more than that. I'm applying these techniques to this fish so you can see what I mean. I'm sorry, I've been talking over this 3D print, this cute little 3D printed dragon that my girlfriend just produced. It's really cool to see 3D prints under the scope. This is my finger. We're at 10x magnification right now. Let's zoom in a little more. So let's go to 50x. Let's focus. You can start seeing the layer lines on that print. Focus a little more. Build out. I like putting everything under the scope sometimes, just to have a little fun. Let's take that off. And we're going to go back for our lovely friend, Myoplosis labracoides. Last night you saw me work all around this guy. I was on the teeth last you saw. So here's the teeth. Now we're going to back up for the neural arches. I'm going to continue working my way through the neural arches using hand tools and pneumatic tools. Sometimes I'll be talkative, sometimes I won't. It depends on, really on how I'm feeling. Or how focused I am, rather. I want this to be entertaining to some degree. I know it's either Sunday night or early Monday morning for this hemisphere. I don't work Mondays. My weekends are Sundays and Mondays, so Saturday nights and Sunday nights tend to be up pretty late. And so that's when you'll see me do these streams. During the day, most of the time, I am at my day job in Dickinson. All right. Saturday nights and Sunday nights tend to be up pretty late, so that's when you see me do these streams. During the day, most of the time, I'm at my day job. My first step is setting up my light just right. The higher you zoom in, the more light you lose. That's not a camera issue or a streaming issue. This is microscopy. This is optics. My first step is setting up my light. So I'll go all the way out. You're going to see a bit more light. Now I'll zoom in 100x, and you'll see that light cancel out. And I had a thumbnail image for this where you'll see just the crazy amount of light I have blasting onto the specimen. I'm using factor radius LED panels to provide light that makes the photography a little easier. If I move the incandescent out of the way, you see it gets a little dimmer, so I need that incandescent, which is provided by an IKEA gooseneck lamp. The lamps that are actually now, maybe for 5 or 6 years now, no longer made. So whether I'm at work or home, I'm always on these YouTube searches to find good deals on the Janjo gooseneck lamps. They have heavy steel bases and are really flexible and really durable. Okay, so the right panel is on. I'm a little tired. I didn't really intend on streaming tonight because I did so yesterday, but there are some issues I wanted to solve with the chat and things, because I had more people chatting and talking than I thought would care about any of this, really. And I wish I could have seen your questions and answered them. So maybe some of you will come back and learn a little more. So I'm at 25x magnification, and I'll repeat some of my points every stream. This is, or was, a standard limit for binocular microscopy in the 60s, early 70s. Didn't really go much past that. Now we're zooming in a little more. Now we're at 40x. Most museum labs I've been in, this is the limit of the magnification, 40x. I'm going to go in here. I can do work at 40x. I can push some sediment. Gotta aim my block line just right. 40x. I'm going to go in here. I can't see individual grains really well. I can't really see much very well, if I'm being honest with you. You're seeing just what I'm seeing. Now what happens when I double that? Now we're at 80x. Look at that, you're going to start seeing individual grains. You're going to start seeing a couple scratches I made there that you wouldn't otherwise. So what does it matter for a commercial, let's say a Nidia fish? Nidia being the state fossil of Wyoming. There are enough Nidia, maybe I think somebody said at one point trillions in the formation, probably. So if I'm doing this stuff on a Nidia fish, it might seem insane, but it's a perfect fish to practice on. This is a higher step up. This is myoplosis. Yes, for a commercial to do all this to a Nidia, I'd say maybe a little bit crazy, but not for a fossil shrew, maybe a fossil mammal, a feathered bird, a lizard. I've done a number of lizards from the formation. I've done a bird and a half. I'd say a bird and a half, if not more than that. I'd have to remember. And I'd be a fool not to use these methods. But I was still working at about 50x mag. No matter what job I've been on, things seem to have been capped off there. But some of the nicest fossils in the world, they're prepped in closed quarters, not even in museums, in little garages, with the kind of equipment I have here. Some of it's expensive, can't get around that. A number of items I'm using here, including the pin vise I'm holding, they're very cheap. You do a lot of this for cheap. One day I'd like to have a stream showing you how you can do some really good fossil preparation for under $1,000. Not everything I'm doing here, but everybody can do this. Everybody can do this. I'll explain a little more in subsequent videos. But like I said, I don't really have a narrative tonight. I just clicked the stream button because, you know, what the heck. Maybe somebody will be watching. So to reiterate, I'm at 80x right now. And I was apologizing yesterday for the sound of the air, so I've compressed air coming out of a lockline gooseneck nozzle that I can position to blow the sediment out of the way. So I'm going to move through this sediment, and you're seeing it's building up, and it is blocking my view of what's going on. So with a gentle tap, you get that sediment out of the way. And this is one of those things that is surprisingly not too expensive to set up. You have to spend some time searching for good prices on some components, and you need a good air compressor, but if you have a good air compressor and you can filter out the water, this is a no-brainer. Surprisingly not too expensive to set up. If you're a hobbyist, you have a little fossil fish you want to start preparing, you want it to be better than many of the fish you see in museums, well, watch my stream. Don't mean to sound like an elitist. I'm really not. I mean, I'm not working out of a mansion here. It's just many of the people who are elitist about this stuff, it's like I see the work they're putting out, and I feel irresponsible to feel like that if I were them. Some other preparators I know say that I have a penchant for speaking my mind a little too much. while others come up to me and say, well, don't listen to him. I love what you have to say. You need to talk more. I have no problems with anybody. I don't have a grudge with anyone in the field. We're all trying our hardest. We're all doing our jobs. But at the end of the day, there are just some simple truths in life that you can't get around. Once I get a handle on how to stream a little better, I will have I'll have narratives for not just these streams, but for some videos that I produce. I have gone into each of the past few streams, a couple on Facebook, now 2 on here, with no plans in mind. I just want to get all the cameras and the tools working. It took a long time just to stop the table from vibrating too much. It took a long time just to make the room quiet enough so you can hear me speak. If there are museum people that, well, are listening or will listen to this stream or streams like it, I'll talk a little bit about how I've set this up. You should live stream some of your prep, your gallery, if you have a viewing lab, so guests can see what you're doing when you're under the scope. Many major museums do this already. When I was at the Field Museum, we were doing this. It's not rocket science, but it does take a couple thousand in equipment to do it right. By right, I mean the majority of photo tubes available for like microscopes, specifically Build Series stereo microscopes. They block your vision in your left eye and send the prisms that are drawing the image to your left eye to the camera port. Meaning, well, you can stream, you're just going to have to work with one eye. And we use stereo microscopes so we have depth perception. So that doesn't work. Not only that, but the light that's being sent to your right eye will be dimmed like 50%. So you lose half the light. I'm using a photo port that's a little different. It lets light go into both of my eyes while letting all of the light stream to you. I can also adjust the amount of light I'm sending to the camera. So you see it's getting dark here, now it's getting brighter. This is a setting on the microscope, not the camera, not the streaming service. Right now I have as much light going to me as possible. If I were to get the prisms sending the light to you out of the way, I would gain about 25% more light. But to have more than half the light blocked off in order to send a stream, it's just not fun. It doesn't let me be as precise. Sorry I stopped working so much here. I'm looking at the settings on OBS. I don't imagine many people are here. It being early morning on a Monday in the northern hemisphere, or late Sunday night. As I said before, I'll reiterate now, my weekends are Sundays and Mondays, so that's why I'm up late. for those of you who aren't on the last stream, if you're not familiar with fossil preparation or paleontology, what I'm using right now is called an air scribe. This is an air scribe especially built for fossil preparation. Effectively, they're very derived industrial air engravers. So the Swedish Aero 8315, made by Ingersoll Rand. That's one piece of equipment used in fossil labs that industries use to engrave serial numbers effectively, or words into metal. This scribe here is too delicate for that. This is meant for very, very, very detailed work on fossil specimens, as are most of the other scribes you'll see here. So this is effectively the finest detail scribe you can find. I'm going to switch this out for a slightly coarser scribe. What I want to do is get rid of some of this matrix here. It's not going to extend over here. I think this is kind of the end, but I want it to just aesthetically meet up with this line here. So I'm going to remove a bit of this. I want to do it a little faster because I'm not prepping scales off. I can use something a little coarser. So this is something interesting. This uses the body of this Ingersoll Rand Aero 8315, Swedish, with a head that's not stock. This was made by one German man named Hardy Winkler. He calls it the HW10. This screws on to one of these arrows. You can find them used for like $70 and makes them a machine. God, that's pretty nerdy, isn't it? So this is a freshly oiled air scribe, so you're seeing a little bit of oil come out. Usually you shouldn't see that much. I think I'm going to put a couple too much drops on that. Nobody's perfect. Sometimes what I do is put the air scribe under a paper towel, let it run into the paper towel to get some of that oil out of the way. So this is a fish that a couple of different people have worked on, have trained on. That's why it excites me. I wanted to finish the whole fish off myself, so we can see various methods, how they work, don't work, and how we can see that some people I've trained have improved. Now I'm going to show you a mistake I've made. See this right here, this crater here. This used to have fossilized scale bridging this gap. It's gone because when I was at a lower magnification, I was using a coarser scribe like the one you just saw, and I couldn't really even see. I put a nick through scale. I thought it was one of these darker colored brown bars, which are these layers of sediment you see, the white, brown, white, brown. Then we zoom in a little more and we see, oh, it's a crater. Which happens no matter what kind of fish you're working on. It just happens. And it is by no means a sin, just something to be aware of, something I try to avoid as much as possible. You can't escape the fact that fossilized scales of teleost fish, these very slender scales, are just going to be fragile. It's just the nature of the whole thing, you know. Age hydroxyapatite et al., and there's a problem. But I'm here to solve it. When I'm looking at this hole here, I'm not seeing any evidence that a consolidant was placed. The consolidant is not really a glue. Some people call it glue. It is a liquid that seeps into the fossil, seeps into every single crack, and after the solvent portion dries, it leaves behind plastic. So typically we use paraloid B72 or Woodvar B76 beads, which dissolve in a solvent, typically either 200 proof ethanol or acetone. Here I use B76 plastic in 190 proof ethanol, and that's a bunch of nerdy stuff. The fun part is 190 proof ethanol is a nerdy way of saying Everclear. So I go to the store, I get a bottle of Everclear. They must think I'm crazy, having gone in for Everclear several times, but I go right into the lab and I mix it with my consolidants. A lot more consolidant is used on things like dinosaur bones that are very spongy, and they take liters and liters sometimes of consolidant. But fish, you just need a drop. I put a drop on an oiler. And watch it soak in. And sometimes I'll add another, even another, depending on how thirsty, quote unquote, the fossil is. And then I let it dry before I do much more work picking off sediment, or it just gets stuck. and I do check chat. I apologize if it's just not working again. Yesterday I thought nobody was commenting, which is fine, it's normal. Just watch the video and you go. But it turns out people were commenting the whole time. And the comment bar OBS was giving me just wasn't communicating with YouTube, is my interpretation. My workaround was to have the YouTube feed stream to a monitor that's right above me, and so I can see chat. If I see after I'm done that there were a stream of comments, just know you weren't ignored. I just didn't see you. Catch that there? I went through this really slender scale right here. Because our hands get overzealous. I should be at 100. So this is 100x for your reference. I want to be closer. I have a really good scope. But it'll do 100. If I really broke the bank, we could figure out how to do 120. Maybe I'll become a famous YouTuber. That'll happen. But I'll figure it out. Yeah, they just get so slender here. Almost everybody else would just take this and either ignore it or just accept that it's just going to have to go, because let's zoom all the way out. In the grand scheme of things, we're still under magnification, 10x. Yeah, that's almost nothing, right? But we're trying to be extra scrutinizing here, because if this were like a fossil insect, the first of its kind, a new species, a holotype, it might not be much bigger than this. So how do we resolve that? No matter what, this is the sort of area that I leave kind of dirty, because these techniques with hand tools and pneumatics, they're the first step. The finishing stage for me is doing air abrasion. So eventually I'll put this under air abrasives. No matter what, this is the sort of area that precision air abrasion, I should say. I leave kind of dirty, because these techniques with hand tools and pneumatics, they're the first step. The finishing stage. Some things should be entirely prepared by air abrasion. block line compressed air blower, or sediment just builds up. That's no good. I should mention I speak about brands here. I say brand names. Ingersoll Rand, Lockline, all of this. I'm not sponsored by any of these brands. I'm not sponsored by anybody. Nobody's giving me money for this. This is just my own endeavor. I'm looking at this tip. I am purposefully using a blunt tip, but it's getting to the point here. I'd like it to be a little sharper. Not too much, but just a little. Have to be careful sharpening tips. Tungsten carbide is very, it's tough, but it's brittle. I'll put it that way. So I'm going to use one of these small ceramic knife sharpeners. And I won't do it under the scope, but what I'm going to do is add some water here and basically do this movement back and forth. And there we go. It's a bit sharp, but that'll change soon. If anybody's here, and I do see that people are here, I understand not being talkative. I hardly ever make comments, but I do respond to them. So if anybody could just put out a hi, so I know that the comments bar is actually working, that would be wonderful. If you have a channel, I'll give you a like and subscribe. I just need to know this is working. I guess I had people here yesterday. It boggles my mind. I am doing this for fun. I didn't expect anyone to be there, but. Here's the tip of a household needle. Actually, it's not a household needle. It's a insect pinning needle, even a little more slender. Much, much sharper than a hypodermic, but here's your baseline. Here's a 10 centimeter scale bar. Let's go 50. This is 50. 100. We're just out of that range. I can be a broken record talking about what I'm doing. Don't want to repeat anything too much. Never be afraid to ask a question. I'm right here. I'm a professional fossil preparator, 17 years. And my career has consisted of mostly working for federal repositories, all public institutions. I'm a paleontologist. Published on a number of things, including methods and vertebrate paleontology, not exclusive to fossil preparation, but mapping and things like that. I'm even in the midst of publishing a paper on a dinosaur egg site with my girlfriend at the moment. We could talk about dinosaur eggs. I go to work and it's just touching dinosaurs all day, so fossil fish are an escape for me. Sorry, I just had to look out the window. It's snowing quite a bit here in North Dakota. Probably expect that. Yeah, so it's a bit wobbly. But I saw most of that. It's really hard to get the wobble down at these higher magnifications. Well, let me try to improve that.
Yes, it's a bit wobbly. But I saw most of it. It's really hard to get the wobble down. Let me try to improve it.
Probably won't do too much good, but it's worth a try. I'll look into that later. Sorry guys, but I see some of you are here. Don't know much about how you know what this is, but hopefully you can find it relaxing. I'm here to educate. I'm here because you're here. When I'm not streaming, I can work a little faster because I just keep my eyes on what I'm doing, but I do like to make sure the stream is going well. Please say hi. Then I know the chat is working. If it's not working again, I apologize. I mean, it was working the other day. I just didn't see you were saying anything. My status quo is to believe that nobody is here. So this is 63x. We're going to go 80. At higher magnifications, it's hard to shine light onto the subject. These are fossilized scales of a fish called Myoplosis labrocoides. See the fish here? These are the neural spines, skulls over there. It's 55 million years old. It's not rare in the formation, but it's not common either. It's sort of in that limbo. Most commercials would spend 5 or 6 hours, a fish this size, just blasting it under a micro air abrasive and call it a day, which you gotta do what you gotta do to make money. But I'm not a commercial. I do museum grade work. And while I might not ordinarily be working on myoplosis, might be something like fossil lizards, mammals. In those cases, more than ever, you need to be doing the sorts of things I'm doing and more. Right now I don't have a setup that would work with my air abrasive station, but eventually if people like this enough, I'll have a feed on my air abrasives so you can see just what precision air abrasion is. Don't be shy to ask questions. This time I should be able to see your comments if you make it.
Don't be shy to ask questions.
This is pretty oily here, so I'm going to use a little trick. Generally, art gum eraser application isn't super recommended because it can fucking smooth out the scale. It can fracture bone, but I do not have much relief here. This is just a patch of scale, so I have no problem using it. You'll find every preparator has an opinion about certain things, and I understand that. Oh, even if you don't have any fossil preparation questions, feel free to ask me about fossils, paleontology, dinosaurs, the weather, 3D printing. I love 3D printing. As my videos from 9-10 years ago show. I've been absent from YouTube for 9 years. This is the first content I put out in quite a while.
I've been absent from YouTube for 9 years.
A late night conversation over some live footage of fossil prep. One thing I do plan to do is shoot and edit some longer form videos to post to my main feed, just so I can talk about exactly everything that I do here, because I could sit here and talk at you for quite a long time, but I'd rather you see me working under the scope before I give you a little more context. But if you ask in the chat, I'll fill you in with any sort of information. I'm an open book. For reference, my magnification is 70x right here. To go to 100, this is 100. This is 10. Back to 70. What's your favorite dinosaur? Tell me in the comments. pick every grain off at this stage. There are techniques beyond pin vices and pneumatic tools that come in later. They're the last stages of the project. Work might seem slow, because it is, but I promise I have finished hundreds and hundreds of fish. My pace is a little slower because I'm looking at the chat and keeping an eye on my video equipment and my streaming platform. So I'm very new to this and I want to be careful. These are the neural spines of the fish. This is the dorsal end of the fish. These are working toward pterygosaurs here, and this is going to be the base of the fins, the spines of the dorsal fin. Just like modern perches, it's a perchoid. It has backwards facing spines to help convince predators that they shouldn't come from behind. And there are a lot of predatory fish in fossil day. A couple more videos of this myoplosis. I'm going to start a Ferriotis on stream. They were not related at all to piranhas, but had a mouthful of fangs like a piranha. Okay, because I see some potential future structural complications here, I'm going to do a little bit of consolidating. I don't want to push my luck too much. Oh, maybe I will, and you'll see me break a spine. going to get as much sediment out of the way first. Bit of a posted scale. Okay, I'm not going to do more before I consolidate. Thank you for the one person who might be here. I'm not looking at my computer right now, so maybe there are more. Never expected anyone to watch, so brings a warm feeling to my heart. There's a little bit about me in the description of the video. Feel free to just tell me in the comments whatever you want me to say. You have a question, you want me to say something, a shout out. I truthfully don't know if they're working. Yesterday I thought nobody was talking to me, and it seemed like a lot of people were. I tried to fix this, but maybe I didn't. Just know that if I'm not responding to you, it's not because I'm distracted. I am just not seeing your comments. But I think they're working, and it's just nobody's really chatty, which is fine. It is like late Sunday night, early Monday morning in this hemisphere. That's understandable. My weekends are Sundays and Mondays, so I do late night fossil prep in my own lab on the weekends. You can also see me at Dickinson Museum Center. I manage the paleontology lab at the Federal Repository in the museum that's under Badlands Dinosaur Museum, a subsect of the museum center. I work in a viewing lab, which is getting bigger pretty soon. We're getting an expansion. That's why I work Saturdays. It's our biggest day of the week, and I want people to see fossils being worked on. I do have a strong volunteer corps. If you live in Dickinson, please feel free to come on by and tell the front desk you're interested. You can also shoot me an email. I should put that in the bio. My email with the city government of Dickinson is Stephen.Clausen, that's Stephen, S-T-E-V-E-N, .Clausen, C-L-A-W-S-O-N, at dickinsongov.com. Stephen.Clausen at dickinsongov.com. We're trying to recruit volunteers from everywhere. We don't really work on fossil fish because we have too much dinosaur stuff going on. Dinosaur eggs, also things that aren't dinosaurs. We have pterosaurs, pterosaur fossils coming out of a Campanian bone bed we found some years ago. And I am a degreed paleontologist, so I'm sorry if I'm using too much lingo. Maybe I shouldn't be sorry. If I am, please ask me to clarify. I taught college-level geology and biology before. I like educating. Didn't expect many people today, I know. This is a weird time for a stream if you're in the United States, that is. I'm on U.S. Mountain Time here. So it is, yes, it's almost 2 a.m. here. Sundays and Mondays are my weekend, so Saturday night and Sunday night I do a lot of fish prep. I'd like to make this at least weekly, starting late on Saturday nights. So let's say around 11 o'clock Mountain Time. I'll definitely try to establish a regular time if more and more people watch. Go for about 2 or more hours. But Saturday, this coming Saturday, I'll commit to 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock U.S. Mountain Time, that is. And I do have a monitor where I can look up and view the chat. If you've got things to say, if you've got questions about what's happening, I can talk about that. I would love to talk about that. I'm an educator at heart. None of this fish stuff is commercial. This is purely academic and experimental. All of the fish being prepared here are part of a book that I'm writing. Some of them are part of a taxonomic study and will end up reposited in a museum, so they can be studied. But right now I'm exposing the pterygophores at the top of the dorsal neural spines, and this is the base of the anterior dorsal fin ray. So this is the dorsal fin I'm starting to bring out. The skull is over here. Myoplosis labricoides. This is the fossilized eye tissue I've worked out. This is also part of the eye here. Here are the jaws. You can see all these teeth. I've had a number of volunteers work on this, so in places teeth got mashed up, and that's okay. This is a practice fish. I did these teeth here under 100x magnification, so they came out a little better than the volunteer who worked on these, who is new. And that's fine. We need to break things in order to learn how to fix them and how to do things properly. I'm at 70x magnification, give or take. The more I zoom in, the less light you're going to see. That's just how optics work. I zoom out from 70, you get a lot more light coming in. I also lose some light in my own eyes, sending it to the photo tube, which is attached to my streaming camera so you can actually see what I'm doing.
I zoom out.
I can technically output in 4K, and I'd like to stream other places. I have streamed on Facebook, but like to do many places simultaneously. I'm just still working out the kinks. I'm going by USB-C right now.
I zoom out.
But if I get a high-speed reader, I'd like to do things through the HDMI port. And I know there are other solutions with USB-C as well. I'd just rather skip to HDMI. I'm going to consolidate this. It's getting a little flaky. These are the best micro-consolidant applicators. Bergeon, they're oilers. They're like industrially for oil application, but they work on with our consolidant just fine. That's 190 proof ethanol as a solvent and B76, which is a clear plastic bead that we dissolve. Archival, doesn't break down in human spans of time. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. It's not great to work in the peripherals, which you probably can't see very well. So when I start taking the tool and moving it away from the center of focus. While my visual on things is not as good as it could be otherwise.
When I start taking the tool and moving it away
You like trucks? What do you think of that Ford Lightning? I thought about it a little bit. It's the electric one. Ended up going with a new Chevy instead. Some people I know really don't like Chevys. This isn't just a place for fossils and dinosaurs. You tell me what you want me to talk about. Don't want to be a broken record, but I don't mind repeating something if somebody wants me to. Thinking about going soon, but now that I've gotten to the dorsal fin rays, might as well expose one. saw happen there, what we're dealing with is a fossil fish with fossilized scales and all sorts of things covering the bone. Now, oftentimes, it's an aesthetic decision people make to remove the scale from the bone, because when the fish is done, it's thought to be a little more aesthetically pleasing. I'll admit to having done that in the past, but my goal here is not to purposefully remove scales. So, you see the bone there, and you see the layer of scales above, just lost a little bit. Not too much though. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we're at 10x now, and you still don't see the whole fish. So, 100x mag. I'm going to consolidate this to make it safe to work on in the future. Might do it twice. I think some of these I'll make a commitment not to talk at all, while others I'll be really chatty. I'd like to hear from people as to what they think about that, because if they like me going on about science and why I'm doing this, that's great. If they'd rather not hear anything about trucks or printers, that's great too. Doing this for me, and I'm doing this for you. Okay, so this scale here is particularly thirsty. I think that'll do it. said, if you're talking to me and that's in the chat and I'm not responding, because I do step back and look occasionally, if I'm not responding, it's because I just don't see it. Last night, lots of people were talking. I never saw it. I've attempted to resolve the issue. I think I did, because it's like early Monday morning. I understand. People aren't here. I just do this when I can for fun. Sundays and Mondays are my weekends. Now, what I'm doing is not, what I'm working on is not for fun. Streaming it to you guys, I think it's pretty cool. I don't see a lot of academic prep streamed. I see commercial prep where, you gotta do what you gotta do, but, they're stripping scales away, they're painting fish, they're putting Bondo on dinosaurs. I don't do that. You're not going to see any paint. I'm doing this true museum quality. You see that word all over the place, whether you're buying a fossil on eBay or somebody's trying to peddle one to a museum. It's museum quality. Well, I see that word applied to some of the worst prep jobs. Some of the worst prep jobs I've seen. I'll do a long form video one day, maybe with some slides and images of what I'm talking about. Today's just about prepping under the scope. These are the dorsal fin spines here. I have a 55 million year old fossil fish that's from the Eocene, Myoplosis labracoides. This for a while was a test specimen for volunteers and things, and now I'm finishing it off just so we see a variety of work styles and things like that. I am unveiling the dorsal fin here. That's the first dorsal fin ray, so the anteriormost fin ray. This will be the next. So like I said, most people would like to remove the scales on the finrays because it looks more aesthetic, but from a science perspective, we might not want to do that. So I'm going to consolidate this before it gets out of hand. I have to find my oiler that dropped on the floor.
So like I said, most people like to remove the scale from the finrays. It looks more aesthetic, but from a science perspective, we might not want to do that. So I'm going to consolidate this before it gets out of hand. I have to find my oiler that dropped on the floor.
Thank you to any and all who are here. All maybe 0 people. Glad I was able to test all this out.
Thank you to any and all who are here. All maybe 0 people. Glad I was able to test all this out.
I do see some people are here. You know, I look at the screen, just looked at the screen, and thank you so much. If you have an opportunity to write anything in the chat, I'd appreciate it so I know that it's working and that I don't have the problem I did last time. People were trying to talk to me. Some really good questions. I want to know that I'm like seeing this right. You know, like if you could say hi or tell me your favorite number. What's your favorite lizard? Do you like cats? I like cats. Not much of a dog person.
What's your favorite lizard? Do you like cats?
I'll work more on the vibrations. I mean, they're much better than they used to be, but at these magnifications, it's almost impossible to tone them down.
I'll work more on the vibrations. I mean, they're much better than they used to be, but at these magnifications, it's almost impossible to tone them down.
toward the top of the fin rays, there aren't any scales. In Myoplosis, they're sort of at the base here, but then you move on. Just like in modern perches, the bone just sticks out. They're backwards facing, so predators can't get them from behind, or they'll swallow a big fish hook, effectively. I'm at 100x magnification. For reference, most museums I've worked for, started off, museums I've visited, seen, if they have scopes at all, their scopes usually go just as far as this. This is 40x. And when I maxed out at 40x, I thought, wow, I'm really zoomed in. And then when I started greater magnification, this is 100. That's the difference between 40 and 100. There's a lot more that goes into a binocular stereo microscope at 100x versus 40x. I get it. There is a price jump. And the best equipment for fossil prep is equipment that's not being made anymore. All of the scopes I use, whether it's here in my own lab or the lab I manage in Dickinson, the federal repository, we use Swift's stereo microscopes, Lysa, Vild, Heerbrug, all of these words. They are metal, they have metal bodies, metal gears, they have real glass prisms, all the optics are glass, and they have interchangeable components. So all the pieces from all my scopes can move left or right. So what I have in front of me is a Frankenscope that allows me to have a photo tube on it to stream to you, while also giving me depth perception to prepare the fossil. And because all of this equipment takes space, I have extended oculars. My scope has to be pushed further away than I would otherwise like. Exposing this dorsal fin ray. Just for safety's sake, I'm going to go check on my compressor for a second. It's on the other side of the house to avoid vibrations. It'll take a minute or so. That's a coprolite there. fossil poo.
Same thing. I'm going to say I'm across here for a second. It's on the other side of the
Look at my little printed dragon there. I'm just going to check the compressor.
That's a couple right there. Fossil pools. Check the compressor.
Alright, I'm back. So most people are opposed. They think I'll finish this one fin right here, a little extra work, and then wrap up. That's the thing about academic prep. There is no meeting hard deadlines. Often at work, I'm not leaving at 5 o'clock. You start something, you can't stop it. Sometimes I'm there 6, 7 o'clock just to finish something that needs to be finished. Well, I have a foot pedal that's giving me some trouble. O-ring probably got loose, but I could take 5 or 10 minutes to swap it out, or I could just call it a day. I'll probably just do that. Unless anybody's begging me to do more work, which I love, and I would do. Just backing the light off a little bit. So we can see the status of the fish before we go. Once again, Myoplosis labrocoides, a percoid, a perch relative from the Eocene of Wyoming. It's the Green River Formation. This is a fish that has been a volunteer project. It's been through a number of people, including me. So in some places he has been braided away, in other places it's pristine, but I'm just finishing this off as this was all a test run, the streaming. I think I'll continue it once a week for a few hours. I will be back Saturday around 11 Mountain Time, U.S. Mountain Time. I say around 11. That's what it is. Sometimes I have an issue setting up the stream, so we'll see. Let me know what more you want to see out of this. I can do a lot more. You know, you look at my previous video, and see I got a cinema camera here. I don't just have to be under the scope. People have told me in person, they're really looking for under the scope stuff because it's kind of like ASMR. I'm happy to just keep doing that. I'm going to finish this fish and then work on something much cooler in the streams to follow. See, when I zoom all the way out, you have a little artifact in your view. Maybe it's in the top right. That is an artifact of its time. This is a surgical scope. When I move the objective left or right, it's going to move this little thing here. This was an attachment to put a small laser involved in optical surgeries. And I don't need that. I just need the scope. So, this is everything we did today. I'm going to do some work on it off the stream, and by next stream, by the end of the stream, I think it'll be finished, and we'll move on to something more interesting. I thank you all for being here, as always. And hopefully this worked. And with our little dragon mascot back to help us understand magnification, I will say goodbye. Thank you for being here.